guys, this is Liz with Mom's Machines, and we are down in Tampa, Florida at the RV Super Show, and we're at Freightliner Chassis. Let's get going.
Here we go.
Hey guys, this is Liz with Mom's Machines and collaborating with RV Max, and we have Bobby Wayne with Freightliner Chassis.
Today, I think you wanted to talk about our maintenance program and what we have going on. And a lot of times people want to try to make maintenance very difficult. When they're looking at a maintenance schedule and they don't understand what they're asking for. When they go into a service center and ask to have maintenance done, a lot of times that service writer is going to say, well, what type of maintenance would you like to have done? And a lot of times they can't answer that question. So there's 5 points that I would like to touch on today to kind of help you and guide you through that. You're going to do your maintenance every year. So in the first year, you're going to be changing the oil, changing your fuel water separator and your fuel filters, having your chassis lubed, and doing an inspection throughout that chassis when you take it in to have service done on it.
Now,
Okay.
do most service shops know this, or do you have to know it before you go in?
Well, most service shops know this, and some that don't. You know, we have a program that a 2-day class that you can come and attend at Freightliner Custom Chassis, and it's called Camp Freightliner. And I go through all of these things on how to maintain your RV and as you travel and things that you ask for when you go into a service center. And so if you go somewhere and they don't know these points, then you actually carry your maintenance sheet in and highlight the things that you would like to have done. Going back to the second point, every year again, you're going to do that oil filter, that fuel water separator, and you're going to change those and you're going to have it lubricated. Second year, you're going to add to that, you're going to add an air cleaner. A lot of people don't realize how important your air cleaner is. 2 things will cause you to lose power: a dirty air cleaner and dirty fuel filters.
So that's every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
The first year.
And a lot of people will look at that air cleaner and they'll say, well, this air cleaner looks as new as it did when I took it off. But what the issue is in an air cleaner is that inside it has a spiral of silicone glue that actually holds the filter apart, spread apart, kind of looks like a V like that, so that the air can circulate through it. In 2 years, the filter manufacturer tells us that silicone glue will start to break down, deteriorate, and it'll suck it into your turbo. Well, if it goes into your turbo, where's it going next? Into your engine. So if it's going into your engine, it's doing engine damage. Or it's letting the filter close up. Instead of being dirty, the filter's starting to collapse because the glue is no longer keeping it spread apart.
So you're not getting good airflow, too.
So you're not getting good airflow.
Yeah.
Be almost like me choking you out. Oh, I can't get air, I can't get air.
Yeah. Now,
your engine's doing the same thing.
Is this regardless of mileage, or is this a time thing?
Regardless of mileage. What a lot of times we see that RVers, we have this saying, they always time out before they mileage out, because most RVers never reach 15,000 miles. So our first maintenance is at 12 months or 15,000 miles. Well, a lot of people don't run but 5,000, some 8, some 10. At the most I see most of the time will be 12,000 miles.
Man.
So they're never reaching that 15,000 miles until it's time to do something else. So that's why we focus on time schedule every year. Okay? So again, backing up, the second year you're going to do the air cleaner. The third year you're going to do the
air cleaner on top of the other stuff for the first year.
Yes,
the annual,
air cleaner on top
cleaner.
of the stuff that you're doing every year.
Okay.
Then you add the second year, you're going to do that air cleaner, and you're going to do your rear end lubrication, the differential axle. You're going to drain that out. You're going to change it out every 2 years. If you have a straight axle on the front of your Freightliner unit, it has a hub reservoir in the very front center cap on the wheel would be right up underneath this cover, and it's a center cap, and you have oil in there, which is the same thing that you run in your rear end. It's 80-90 weight gear oil. You want to change it every 2 years.
So so with the air cleaner, the second year you do that.
Right.
The second
you do
year.
the
So
hub oil and the rear end oil and the
Okay.
differential.
Okay.
Every 2 years.
Okay.
Now, on 3 years, you're going to focus on the air dryer. This is the most neglected filter on an RV
And
chassis.
it's not hard to change because I came to your fire chat once, and I think you were talking about it, and I'm like, doesn't sound hard, but you go ahead.
It's not hard at all to change, but the location is difficult. It's mounted up underneath the RV behind the drive axle, right near the rear airbag. And it's actually just a spin-on filter. But you want to make sure that if you change this filter on your own, number one, never ever get up under an RV with just the hydraulic jacks holding it up. Always have 22-ton or 24-ton jack stands that you mount up underneath the axle before you ever attempt to get up underneath that RV. We're not recommending you get under an RV at any point in time.
Yeah.
Okay, you could get pinned underneath there.
Yeah.
But if you're a do-it-yourselfer and you're changing this filter, it's a spin-off, and you want to make sure all the air is out of the system before you start attempting to change that filter. Next one, 4 years. 4 years, if you got a 2500 series transmission, then you're going to change the transmission fluid and the transmission filter. And again, that's on top of everything you do every year.
Every year, and then every 2 years. So
And
you're
every
still going
2
to do the
years,
air
every
dryer.
3 years, and every 4
yeah.
years.
Okay.
And then every 5 years, you're going to change filter and fluid on a 3,000, 4,000 Allison transmission in these RVs. Now, a lot of people will ask me, what do you do after 5 years? Where do I go from there? Start over.
Start over,
It's
annual.
simple. You go back
2
to
years,
your annual.
3 years,
1,
5.
2, 3, 4,
5.
5. Every time. When you hit 5, go back to 1 and go through that. It's an easy step.
Now,
So,
I know you have new chassis here, but we're RV Max, and we do used motorhomes.
right.
What do you suggest if someone's purchasing or going to sell it? What would you suggest to look for or do?
All right, so this is what I would suggest, and this is what I suggest to people that buy used product from people like RV Max or even an individual that they buy from. So you don't, unless somebody brings out their manual
And their maintenance.
and their maintenance
records.
and hands it to you and says, this is everything that's ever been done to this coach, well, chances are you run into very few people that do that. If you don't know what the background is, then you want to start out at 5 years because that
right-
does everything.
Start right
and that
when you
will
get
be
it.
your starting point. So once you got the starting point, then you know from that point on, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, start over again. So if you don't have any idea of the maintenance that's been done on that coach, always start at 5 years. That'll get all your
all your
fluids,
checklists.
all your filters, all the lubrication, everything will be completely done, and then make that the starting point.
Now, once you have a motorhome and you start traveling, what should you carry with you so you're not stranded?
All right, so you want to carry with you what I have tagged as being a survival kit, okay? So you want to carry a fuel filter, a fuel
Okay,
water
yep.
separator. You want to carry a container that seals up really good so that you can have a gallon of diesel fuel to put into those filters when you change them.
Prime them, so to speak, I guess.
Prime them
Yeah.
so that you don't want to lose the prime on a diesel engine. When you lose
Yeah.
the prime on a diesel engine, you're what they call dead in the water. You're there trying to get that prime, and a lot of times before you get those filters prime and get that RV started again, you'll kill the batteries.
Yeah.
So then you have just added to the problem you already have. So never put on fuel filters dry.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody tells you that. I was a tech for 9 years and we never put fuel filters on dry. Now, one reason that you want to carry these fuel filters with you, let's just say you get water in your fuel. Coach starts running very bad. Kind of got like a skip, like a gasoline engine would have, spitting and sputtering, blowing white smoke out the exhaust. You lost all the power. You go in the back, you look in your fuel water separator bowl,
And you can see it.
and you see water. Water always is going to sink to the bottom. Okay? So Okay, I got water in my fuel. You call, either you're a do-it-yourselfer and you're doing it on the side of the interstate, then you need that fuel. If you're calling a roadside service, you're paying them as soon as you hang up the phone.
Yeah.
You want to make sure when they get out there that they don't look at you and say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have those filters. You're exactly right. You need new filters because you got water in the fuel. So if you're carrying it in a survival kit, you turn around and say, sir, all I need is your labor. I have the parts.
Good, yeah.
So do that.
And that's if a store is open or something's open
That's if
nearby.
a store is open.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you mentioned to me earlier, what are you going to do if it's on Sunday?
Sunday and nothing's open.
You can't get a filter.
Yeah.
You know, you're sitting on the side of the road waiting for him to come back on Monday.
Yeah,
Ability is part of that kit too.
And the
right?
belt, serpentine belt.
Serpentine belt.
We've had to get a serpentine belt.
Always want to make sure you get a serpentine belt. And I hear all the time I get questioned about how long does a serpentine belt last? That is a loaded question. I can't tell you how long a serpentine belt lasts because I have seen maintenance guys put on belts and they last 50 miles down the road after being brand new and they break. Serpentine belts are made out of rubber just like your tires. So what you want to look for when you're inspecting your belt to see if you need to change it is you're looking for dry cracks.
Dry cracks, yep.
You're looking for missing ribs. You're looking for holes where you don't think about this, but as you travel and road grime is coming up and this sand and small pebbles,
It's in there.
they flip up around those belts and get between the pulley and the belt, and it'll actually cause a hole to come in the belt, small pinholes.
And once that hole starts, it's like
Once
a window
the hole
crack.
starts, there you go.
It just gets, yeah.
It's going to fail. So a good measure of life of the serpentine belt, most of the time, is around 7 years. Most of the time. Main thing is not letting UV rays get to them when you have a spare also.
Keep them inside.
Keep them
underneath.
inside. I would suggest that you put them in a Ziploc bag, put them down underneath your bait. Don't throw them up on the dash. Don't throw them where the sun's going to be hitting them anytime.
Similar to tires.
What I recommend also in the survival kit is go to Walmart, go to Lowe's, go to Home Depot, buy you a tote.
A tote.
Put
bin,
all that
plastic
stuff
bin.
in the tote, especially your diesel fuel, because you got that container, you're hauling that diesel fuel around. If anything was to ever happen and the cap come off of that diesel, you don't want it in your basement. So it'll be captured in that tote. The belt will be in the bag, so you just take it out, dry the bag off, clean your tote out. Your filters are going to be wrapped in plastic, fuel filters. Clean them off, clean your tote, you're back in business. Now, one other thing that you're going to need is this tool right here, a hub nut tool. So this hub nut tool mounts. Let me show you back here.
All right, come on.
This hub nut tool mounts on this nut right here. It takes this cap off, and the reason you want to take this with you is if you have a flat or any tire failure on the rear as you're traveling, then you want to be able to take this nut out to take this dome off so that you can take the wheel off. Okay? So this is a plastic nut, and it's got a chrome coating on it. If you got somebody that comes out to change your tire
With
and they take a pair of
what do you call it? Channel
pair
locks.
of channel locks,
They're gonna
break
oh.
this chrome, and then it's
Yeah.
going to look very bad, ugly. It's going to make this nice wheel look ugly.
And I'm sure you've seen that before.
Yes.
Okay.
And what a lot of people don't realize is the driver's side, which I consider the left-hand side of the coach, this nut is left-hand threads. So you don't want somebody, or even you, trying to take it off. What is the rule? Righty-tighty,
Righty-tighty,
lefty-loosey.
lefty-loosey.
All right. So if you're turning the wrong direction, you can break this nut off the end, plus you're continuing tightening. On this tool that we have,
got directions.
It's got the directions right
To
here.
remove driver's side,
Yes. So
passenger side. Driver's side this way, passenger side this way. If you do it wrong, somebody does it. And
Turns it the wrong
turns it the
direction.
wrong way, and it's not sealed right. Can you get water and rust?
hole
And,
there.
and
You see a lot of where the hole
would it
is.
be a problem? I mean,
no,
just
no.
okay.
We can even take this one off.
Okay.
This was slick where we've been putting the cleaner on it.
Oh, when they detailed it.
When they
So this
detailed
is
it.
backward. Riding is not tidy. Riding
Right,
is loose.
right is loosey.
And that's
So
why
this
you,
is a backward.
now is this something that you can pick up a tool anywhere at any is it only Freightliner or do
You
they?
can get it I know you can get it at our factory service center in Gaffney, South Carolina.
Okay.
Call a gentleman there named Corey Johnson. He can get this tool for you. I'm sure it's probably at any Freightliner dealer you could probably pick it up.
How
Not
much is
sure.
this tool? Like
This tool's
under
like $13.
$13. Okay. And it's got a little thing you can hang it right inside your RV.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, this is all that's behind this dome. But if you see this dome, or I call it top hat, slides right on here, and it goes against the wheel. So when you break these lug nuts loose to take this wheel off, let's just say the inside tire is flat. You're trying to change it. You can't get it off until you take this off.
You got to get it off.
So you got to take the top hat off to be able to, and as you see what I'm saying, this is just a piece of all thread rod screwed up into the tip of this nut. So if you continue to turn it in the wrong direction,
You're gonna break it.
you're going to break it off here.
It's going to be broken off. Yep.
Yeah. So that's the biggest thing with having this tool and being able to change this tire out on the road.
It's not a problem until it's a problem.
Right.
And then to remove, to
Again,
tighten it is
Lefty
tighty
tighting this one. But this is a necessary tool
got
that
the
you
door.
need as you travel. Do you want to put this in your survival kit? And the last thing that I would recommend that you want to put in that survival kit would be a gallon of coolant. You want to get what is rated for a diesel engine.
okay.
If you have anything that was produced on a Freightliner chassis before 2016, November 2016, runs a coolant that is a 50-50 diluted mix with SEA additive in it. You want to stay with that coolant. Anything beyond 2016, November of 2016, we started running extended life coolant. From 17 on, we started running extended life. And you don't want to mix extended life coolant with SEA coolant
SEA coolant.
because it'll sludge up in your cooling system and cause you all kinds of problems.
DEF, we usually try to keep it with us because
DEF.
it'll just
If you carry DEF in a box, or you
You
pour it in with the box, I recommend everybody most of the time to buy your DEF at the fuel islands
where you pump it
where
at the
you
pump.
pump it in. Number one,
Yeah.
if you've ever noticed, when you're trying to dump DEF into your tank, once the body goes on this unit, it's very hard to access, even though it's on a tank with a spout that comes out, but the body's sitting over it, and when you tilt that container
look
up,
out, yeah.
it hits the bottom,
It hits
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
the flooring area of the coach itself, the body. So unless you have a pump, electric pump, that you can pump it from that container to your DEF tank, you don't really get all the usage out of the DEF in that container because you can't get it out. You know, I recommend to people to always get their DEF at the
pump.
fuel island.
And it's
lot of
probably
times.
cycled through more.
It's cycled through more, and that's a good point. A lot of people don't take in consideration, I don't know why RVers like to do this, but every time they stop and get fuel, they top off their DEF. If you're topping off your DEF on engines up to 450 horsepower is a 50-to-1 ratio. That means you run 50 gallons of fuel to every 1 gallon of DEF. So think about it. If you're stopping, and a lot of RVers always stop and get fuel at a half a tank. Why, I don't know. But I recommend you run it down to about a quarter tank.
They don't want to get to a quarter because it won't run because the generator.
The
I-
generator
that's
will
why-
shut down.
that's-
You want to use up all the DEF, and you don't want to add this much new to this much old. That
Yeah.
makes sense?
Yeah,
That makes
yeah.
sense.
So what you want to do is cycle it out of the fuel tank and cycle your DEF to where that you're running down to a quarter tank, and then you got 3/4 of a tank of new.
It's new, so it
So
hopefully
you
mixes.
got fresher fuel. I'm all about supporting local mom and pop business, right? But one thing I want you to think about as you travel, mom and pop business don't turn over diesel fuel as often as the big name Loves, Flying J, the Pilot,
Travel
TAs,
America.
places like that, they don't turn fuel over as often as these guys.
Yep.
So what happened? This is a way that water is introduced into your fuel system because that tank's in the ground.
Sitting there.
It gets cool at night. What happens? That tank cools down. During the day, the sun comes out, heats everything up. That
And you
tank
get
starts to heat
condensation.
up, starts to sweat. Condensation. Where's it going? Right
And
into
your-
that diesel
into your
fuel.
fuel.
Mom and pop may not get diesel but every 2 months.
Yeah.
Where Love's, TA, Flying J, they probably get diesel 4 tractor trailer loads of fuel a day because all your truckers are buying it, all the RV people are buying it, it stays turned over. So it narrows the gap for opportunity for you to get water.
Now I have a quick question. You were talking about keeping the diesel. Would you suggest use up that diesel and then refurnish that diesel that you're carrying with you to prime
I
your
wouldn't
plant?
carry that. I wouldn't carry that diesel probably over 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
I would
Maybe
dump it into
use
my
it in your thing and then
motorhome,
keep it-
then
And you
Get
know
a fresh-
gallon is
cycle
good,
it
right?
through it.
1 gallon.
1 gallon
gallon
is
is
be
fine.
plenty.
Filling up a fuel filter.
Be plenty. And let me show you something on the back of this one. So
That's where you can see the
That's your
water.
water
That's your
separator.
this is your water
separator.
separator right here, okay? And when you're looking in this window, you're going to see water at the bottom down here because it's heavier than the fuel. All right, so when you change this right here, you're not changing this complete unit. You're just changing this paper filter inside there, right?
Yeah.
All right, so when you spin this off and you got that filter there, remember I said don't ever put it on empty or put it on dry?
Yep.
Well, on this style, you have to take that bowl, fill it up with diesel fuel, set the filter down into it,
Let it soak for
let
a
it
little bit.
soak.
There you go.
Then you got to pull it out, flip it over, and do the same thing on the other
the other
end.
side.
You want that filter to be saturated before you put it back in there. And when you put it in, then fill it all the way up so that you are full of fuel. Again, you're trying to reduce the opportunity of adding an air pocket
Air
into
pocket
that
into
system
the line.
to lose prime. Okay?
Yep. Yeah.
So always remember that. On this unit, this is a 605 horsepower engine
Wow.
here.
Is that
So
the biggest
this
body?
looks
Is that
like,
the biggest on the road, right?
this is the biggest thing we're producing right now. Cummins is building this engine for us. I'm not sure if there's anything any bigger, but
No, not on the road.
so this is a 45 footer here. And
Tag axle.
but this filter looks like an oil filter, how big it is. But this is your fuel
That's
filter.
your fuel filter.
This is the fuel filter, this is fuel water separator.
Now,
Where's
where's
the
the
air
air?
dryer?
Where's the air dryer that you're talking about?
So on this unit, it's mounted over in the cabin. But on
Oh.
we're only doing this for, this is an Entegra unit. We're doing this for Entegra, and we were doing this for Forest River, putting it inside this cabin.
This
Usually
is
just
the
somewhere in the middle of the front,
Most
right?
of the time, it's mounted behind the rear drive axle on the left-hand side of the
That's
coach.
why you said it's hard to get to.
It's
These are
hard to
easy.
get to. It's
This
easy
is-
to change, just a difficult location.
This is easy to get to
This
because
is
it's
very
right here
easy
at
to
the
get.
body.
That's what you
User
change
friendly
every
right
That's
here.
every 2 years, right?
Every 3.
Every 3
3.
years. Just to go over it. The first year, the air
I'm putting you
filter.
through a test.
Oh
You
no,
tell me.
I'm trying.
You tell me.
I put myself. All right, for 1 year, the annual is the fuel filter and the oil change and the lube,
Yeah, lubricating the whole chassis
the whole chassis,
and
that-
the fuel water separator.
and the fuel water separator, right?
There
When I
you-
see it, I can remember it. If I don't
There
see
you
it, I'm
All
talking Greek. All right, every 2 years
2 years.
is
Air
All that you
cleaner.
do in 1
air
year.
cleaner. Where's the air
and that
cleaner?
air cleaner is mounted over here. This is cleaning the air. It's just the outside
just
air that's taking
air.
in and coming through the engine. This is what's supplying air into your
into
engine.
your engine, and then once every
And in 3 years,
do everything you do annually,
yep,
right? Then the 3 years is
we just talked about it. It's in that cabinet.
the air
dryer.
Okay,
Exactly
so
right.
3 years, and then 4 years.
4 years, if you have a 2500 series transmission,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to do that service on that transmission.
transmission
the
service,
filter,
the filter.
and the fluids. And then in 5 years, you have a 3000, 4000 transmission. You're going to do it. You're going to change all the fluid in it and change the filters on it.
And do all the things you do annually.
And
or
do all the
every
things you're going
2
to do.
years.
And
Depends on how you.
inspect it, lubricate it.
Basically, you need an Excel spreadsheet for all this.
Well, we have a maintenance schedule.
Do you have an
that
app? Do you have an app?
We have an app. We actually
is an
do
app.
have an
Okay.
app, and I'd like to tell you about
Yeah,
it.
sure.
What about
Let's
the
go.
differential? When do you change it? Every 5 years?
Differential, you're going to change the lubrication in the differential every 2 years, remember? 2 years, you're going to change the differential oil, and you're going to change the oil in that hub,
In the
front hub,
Right, that's every 2 years.
every 2 years
Okay.
also.
I need a cup of
Wow.
coffee and
Let me
a,
grab
You need
this.
a cup of coffee.
And
Let me
a-
grab
and a
this-
thing
let me
of
grab
chocolate.
this thing about our
Okay.
app. You asked me about, did we have an app? So we have an app for maintenance, okay? And our marketing manager just recently changed this app and come up with a super good idea. This one is now called My 24 Direct. Before it was called 24/7 Direct. This one's 24/7, My 24/7 Direct, okay? Now what he added in here is a clock. So when you do your maintenance, the things we just talked about, and you key it, you do your maintenance, you can come to this app and you can key it in, and there's a clock that starts running. And as this clock runs, it starts out
How
green,
many
and as
days?
it gets to yellow, it'll give you a warning. Hey, you got this air cleaner filter coming up. It's time for a 2-year change on it. It'll turn yellow. Then when it turns red, you have passed the date that you should have changed that air cleaner. But, you know, one thing I want to add too about mentioning about air cleaners have date codes on them. So when you buy an air cleaner, you always want to buy the date that from that point forward, you want to buy the freshest filter with that date, because 2 years later is when you're going to change that air cleaner. So you want to get that full 2-year life
out
out
that
of it.
air cleaner.
So you wouldn't want to buy an air cleaner that was date coded 30 days from when you from your 2-year cycle. Does that make
Yep,
sense? You want to be able to get that full life 2-year cycle based on the freshest filter that you have, because you're going to change it every 2 years, and it's date coded.
And
okay.
it's a stamp on
It's
the
a
thing.
stamp
Okay.
on the container.
Now, when you say you go in to service it, do you go in and say, yes, I did this?
If
In
you
the
did,
app?
if
In
you
the
did,
app?
if you care, oh,
In the
when you
app?
go in the app, yes, you load your any maintenance you have done.
Okay.
Even if you take it to a service center and they do your maintenance for you, then you still have
You
this
still go
app
in and
to
do
where
it.
you can go in and you can add it. Now, what's neat about this app also is we 24/7 Direct is we have a group of people in Gaffney that sit in a call center, and these guys are just a wealth of knowledge. Okay, some of the smartest people we have,
Oh, in
and
Gaffney,
you
yeah.
call them up, and you don't always have to call them when you're in trouble. A lot of people think, oh, I call them when I'm broke down on the side of the road.
You can call them with questions.
You can call them anytime you want to talk about anything related to your RV. You can ask them questions. Some of the things you just asked me today, you could call up our 1-800-FTL help number, and you could ask them any questions. And again, this group of people have all the answers. These guys,
They
at
actually work on them in
at peak
service.
time. No, they don't work on them.
Okay.
Some of them have been in the
Have
service
been.
center. Some of them have been out in the plant on the production line building the units, and then they come into the call center and they're spreading their knowledge that they've learned about the units. But these guys can, at peak time, they may take 900 phone calls a day.
Wow.
That's not 900 new calls. So
That's-
it helps them increase their knowledge, because sometimes they may ask 100 questions that are all the same questions, right? So yes, anytime you need these guys, you need to call them. When you have trouble, call them. When you don't have trouble, just have a question, call them. When you're having your coach towed, call them.
And we've
Get
called
their
them.
recommendations.
We've called
Right,
Freightliner for
just
stuff.
for the fun of it, I just downloaded that app. It says nearest service, 2.2 miles.
So he
That's
even
your
has the
near-
nearest service. That's
That is
awesome.
your nearest.
Oh,
that
that's
is your
awesome.
nearest dealer.
Yeah.
And what it does, it pops up and it gives you the dealers. A lot of times it'll ask you for a zip code. You put in the zip code where you are, then it populates, and it'll show you all the dealers that are
That's awesome.
That's
near
awesome.
to you.
Now, what we have behind us is the new chassis that's coming out. Is that right? Now I got a
It's
pointer.
out
Thank
already,
you.
right?
Right. This
Yeah,
is
this is out already.
now. This is our newest merger with Entegra.
Okay.
This is their coach, going to be under a Cornerstone unit. So this is the newest thing for Entegra.
That's
And
that
we got it on
flagship
display here. Yeah,
That's that flagship code. That's a top
flagship.
big boy.
Yep.
Second.
And we're looking forward to that partnership with Entegra. You know, just all excited about that.
I can't wait to drive here.
So okay, so now I gotta remember the 5 things to carry. No, the survival kit,
Survival kit.
diesel fuel,
Yes,
about a gallon,
yes,
a serpentine belt,
yes.
and make sure it's the right one.
Right, yes.
Now, are these serpentine belts at any? Can you get a belt any?
You can get those belts at our Freightliner dealers, any of our parts suppliers. Again, from our service center in Gaffney, from Corey Johnson. He carries a wide selection. We carry them here on our show truck when we come to rallies and we come to shows. You can also get them at any Cummins dealer because those
Okay.
belts are from Cummins.
Cummins, okay.
Now, if you have a side radiator and we put the fan drive on, then that belt will come from us. But, you know, you can get those belts from either Freightliner dealers or Cummins dealers.
Cummins dealer. And this tool,
That tool comes
Okay.
from Freightliner,
Freightliner, the fuel filter,
fuel
Right.
filter, fuel water
and
separator,
a fuel water separator,
yep, and a gallon of coolant.
and a gallon of coolant. And make sure it's the right coolant.
Make sure that you have the right coolant.
The
It's either
SEA
SEA coolant
2017
extended
and
life
above.
coolant.
No, extended life is 2017 and above.
Yes.
But call Freightliner if you have any questions.
Call the 1-800 number.
Yep.
If you got any questions, tap into their knowledge and say, hey, what kind of coolant do I run?
Okay.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
It was a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.